My name is Jason, and for the longest time, I believed I was the luckiest man alive. I had a loving wife, a stable job, and a peaceful home in a quiet little town. But life has a cruel way of reminding you that not everything is as perfect as it seems. I met Samantha 7 years ago at a mutual friend's wedding. She was stunning, elegant, confident, and had that spark in her eyes that made it impossible to look away. When she smiled, it was like the whole world faded around her. I was a simple man, an architect, not flashy or rich, but she made me feel like I was enough. We dated for a year before getting married. Our first few years together were magical. She was caring, supportive, and made our small apartment feel like home. I used to wake up every morning grateful to have her beside me. But that's the thing about illusions, they're beautiful right until they shatter. It started with small changes, things that didn't make sense, but were easy to dismiss. She became more secretive with her phone. She'd step out of the room to take calls, saying it was just work. She started dressing differently, bolder, more polished for her girls' nights. And sometimes, she'd come home smelling of cologne that definitely wasn't mine. I tried not to jump to conclusions. I told myself I was being paranoid. But one night, my gut refused to stay quiet any longer. It was a Thursday, I remember, because Thursdays were our movie nights. She texted me around 6 p.m. saying she had to stay late at the office. I believed her. Or at least, I wanted to. But later that night, as I scrolled through my phone, I noticed something strange. A photo from a friend's Instagram story. A fancy rooftop bar downtown. And right there, in the background, was Samantha. My Samantha. Sitting at a table with a man in a suit. They looked close, too close. She was laughing, touching his arm, her eyes glowing in a way I hadn't seen in months. My stomach dropped. My hands went cold. I didn't sleep that night. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, wondering if everything I believed about our marriage was a lie. The next morning, she came home looking tired but cheerful. "Morning, babe," she said, kissing my cheek like nothing was wrong. "Sorry I got home late. The meeting ran over." I looked at her carefully. "Really? A meeting?" She smiled, grabbing a cup of coffee. "Yeah, the boss wanted to go over some last-minute details for the presentation." I studied her face. Not a single flicker of guilt. She was good, too good. That was the first time I realized something terrifying. My wife was a brilliant liar. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing patterns. Her late nights became more frequent. Her explanations vaguer. She suddenly had weekend conferences and out-of-town workshops. When I offered to drive her or pick her up, she refused, saying she didn't want to inconvenience me. But she'd made one mistake, a small one. One night, after she went to bed, I heard her phone buzz. It was a text from someone named AD. The message read, "Last night was amazing. Can't stop thinking about you." My heart stopped. I scrolled up, and what I saw made my entire body tremble. Months of messages. Flirty, intimate, explicit. She'd been seeing this man for months. Dinners, hotel rooms, even weekend getaways. And the worst part? She was using me as her cover story. Whenever she told me she was traveling for work, she was actually with him. I felt sick. My chest tightened so hard I thought I'd pass out. But as I kept reading, one message stood out. One that changed everything. "AD, you sure your husband doesn't suspect anything?" Samantha. "No, he's clueless. Jason's too busy with his blueprints to notice what's right in front of him." That broke me. The woman I loved, the one I trusted with my life, was mocking me behind my back. I didn't confront her that night. I couldn't. I wanted to understand why. Who this man was. What she was getting from him that I couldn't give. So I started watching her. Quietly. Carefully. I installed a small tracker app on her phone. Set up a hidden camera in the living room. And what I found confirmed everything I feared. Every Tuesday and Friday, she'd leave for work. But her location would show a luxury apartment complex across town. One evening, I followed her. I parked a few blocks away and watched as she walked into that building, wearing a dress I'd never seen before, carrying an overnight bag. She entered apartment 3B. I waited for hours, my heart pounding in my throat, until finally, around midnight, she came out laughing, her lipstick smudged, her hair messy. And beside her was the man from that Instagram story. He wasn't just anyone. His full name was Alex Donovan, a senior executive at her company. And married. So not only was my wife cheating on me, she was having an affair with a married man. When she got home later that night, I pretended to be asleep. She slipped into bed, her perfume thick in the air, the same perfume I now hated. As I lay there, one thought echoed in my mind. She thinks I'm clueless. But she was wrong. I wasn't going to scream or beg for answers. No, that's what she'd expect. I was going to play her game and beat her at it, because if Samantha could live a double life, then so could I. And when I was done, she'd regret ever thinking she could fool me. The next morning, as she kissed me goodbye and smiled that fake smile, I whispered to myself, "Enjoy it while it lasts, sweetheart. You have no idea what's coming." But fate had its own surprises in store for both of us. Because the next time I saw Alex Donovan, it wasn't in a bar or on Samantha's phone. It was in my office. And he was my new client. When Alex Donovan walked into my office that Monday morning, I swear my blood ran cold. He extended his hand with that smooth corporate smile, completely unaware that I already knew everything about him. The messages, the hotel rooms, the lies he whispered to my wife. "Jason Miller," he said, gripping my hand firmly. "It's a pleasure. I've heard great things about your work." I forced a polite smile. "Likewise, Mr. Donovan. Please, have a seat." He sat across from me, looking sharp, confident, successful, the kind of man who believed he could take anything he wanted and get away with it, including another man's wife. He started talking about a luxury development project his company wanted me to design. I nodded, pretending to take notes while every fiber of my being screamed to punch him in the face. But I didn't. I smiled, asked professional questions, and kept my tone calm. Because now, I had something far more powerful than rage, information. When he left, I sat there for a long time, staring at the door. My wife's secret lover had just walked right into my world, uninvited, unaware, and perfectly vulnerable. That night, Samantha came home late again. I was sitting on the couch, pretending to be engrossed in my laptop. "Rough day?" I asked casually. She yawned, avoiding eye contact. "Yeah, endless meetings. I'm exhausted." I nodded. "Funny, I met your boss today." She froze. "My boss?" "Yeah," I said slowly, looking up at her. "Alex Donovan. He came to my office about a project." Her eyes flickered, just for a split second, fear, surprise, guilt. Then she forced a smile. "Oh, wow, really? What a coincidence." "Yeah," I said, holding her gaze. "A coincidence." She turned away quickly, pretending to tidy up the counter. I could almost hear her heart racing. She knew. She knew I'd seen through something, but she didn't know how much. Over the next few weeks, I played the part of the clueless husband perfectly. I even started mentioning Alex casually. Funny guy, hard worker, seems like a good leader. Every time I did, Samantha's smile would tighten just a bit more. Meanwhile, I began spending more time with Alex professionally. He came to my office for meetings, invited me for drinks, even bragged about his perfect marriage. He showed me pictures of his wife, Laura, beautiful, classy, elegant. I couldn't help but wonder if she knew who her husband really was. One night, after a meeting ran late, Alex invited me for dinner at a private club. We sat across from each other, and he kept talking about business, life, marriage. He had no idea the man he was drinking with had seen the text he sent to his wife hours earlier. At one point, he smirked and said, "You're a lucky man, Jason. Samantha's a catch." My stomach clenched. "Yeah," I said carefully. "She is." He chuckled. "Beautiful, smart. The kind of woman who keeps things exciting, you know?" My jaw tightened. Did he know I knew? Was he taunting me? I stared at him for a long moment before saying, "Yeah, Alex. She's full of surprises." He raised his glass. "To women like that." I forced a smile and clinked glasses. But in my mind, I was already building my plan. I wasn't going to confront Samantha or Alex. No, that would end it too easily. I wanted them to feel safe first, comfortable in their lives, before I pulled the floor right out from under them. A few nights later, Samantha came home late again. She slipped into bed, thinking I was asleep. I watched her silhouette in the dark, this woman I once adored, and all I could think was, you're not my wife anymore. You're just a stranger wearing her face. Over the next month, I gathered everything, screenshots, call logs, GPS locations, photos, every lie she'd told, every place she'd gone, every text she'd sent. I even managed to record one of their phone calls. She sounded different with him, softer, playful. I didn't even recognize her voice. But what struck me most was how careless they were. They thought no one would ever find out, until I decided they would. One evening, Alex invited me and Samantha to his house for dinner. You should meet my wife Laura, he said. She's been dying to host. I said yes instantly. When I told Samantha, she looked panicked. Dinner? With Alex and Laura? Why? I smiled. Why not? He's my client. It'd be rude to say no. She tried to protest, but I cut her off. Relax, sweetheart. You said he's just your boss, right? Her lips parted, but no words came out. Then she nodded. Right. Just my boss. The night of the dinner, she spent hours getting ready. I could tell she was nervous. Her hands kept trembling as she adjusted her hair. When we arrived at Alex's mansion, Laura greeted us warmly. She was beautiful, graceful, and utterly unsuspecting. The evening started off normally. We laughed, exchanged stories, talked about work and travel. But under the surface, every smile felt like a knife. Samantha avoided Alex's eyes the entire night. I caught him stealing glances at her, subtle, but obvious enough for me to see. At one point, when Laura went to the kitchen, I leaned back and said casually, So, Alex, how long have you and your wife been together? He smiled. Almost 10 years. Wow, I said. Impressive. You must really trust each other. He chuckled. Of course. That's what marriage is about, right? Samantha's fork clattered against her plate. I turned to her, pretending to look concerned. You okay, honey? She forced a smile. Yeah, just dropped my fork. I handed her a napkin and whispered softly, Careful. Wouldn't want to make a mess. Her eyes met mine for half a second, and she saw it, the calm, cold knowing behind my smile. By the end of the night, she could barely look at me. When we got home, she broke down. Jason, there's something I need to tell you. I looked at her calmly. Are you sure you want to? Tears welled in her eyes. I made a mistake. I didn't mean for it to happen. I interrupted softly. With Alex. She froze, her lips trembling. You know? I smiled faintly. I've always known. She sank to the floor, sobbing. Please, Jason, I'm sorry. It's over. I swear it's over. But I didn't believe her. Because the next morning, when she left for work, I followed her. And what I saw made my blood boil all over again. She wasn't going to work. She was meeting Alex again. And this time, she wasn't alone. I followed her quietly that morning, keeping a few cars' distance between us. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. She thought she could lie to my face, cry fake tears, and sneak off again the very next day. But today, she'd made a fatal mistake. She parked near a fancy downtown cafe, one I knew well, because it's where she used to meet her clients. I watched as she got out of the car, dressed in a sleek black dress and heels. She looked too polished for work. My stomach churned. Then I saw him, Alex Donovan, already there, waiting by the entrance. He smiled when he saw her. She smiled back. That smile. The one I used to wake up to every morning. Now it was a weapon, one she used to destroy me. But what came next froze me. They weren't alone. A little girl, maybe 5 or 6, came running toward Alex, giggling. Daddy. He lifted her into his arms, smiling proudly. Then he looked at Samantha and said something I couldn't hear. She laughed and gently touched the girl's hair. My chest tightened. My mind raced. What was happening? Was Samantha involved with his family now? They sat outside, talking like nothing was wrong, like this was perfectly normal. Samantha leaned in close, whispering something to Alex while the little girl colored on a napkin. I watched for nearly an hour before leaving. I couldn't stand another second. That night, when she came home, I was waiting. How was work? I asked quietly. She froze in the hallway. It was fine. Why? I smiled. No reason. You just look happy. Must have been a good day. She didn't reply, just nodded awkwardly and walked toward the bedroom. I followed her with my eyes, my mind spinning. Now, I needed answers. And I knew exactly where to get them. The next day, I called one of my contacts, a private investigator I'd used years ago for a business dispute. His name was Frank, a quiet man with a talent for uncovering secrets. "Frank, I need a background check on someone," I said over the phone. "Alex Donovan. Send me everything, family, finances, history." Within 2 days, I had the file. Alex was married to Laura Donovan, the same woman who'd hosted us for dinner. They had one daughter, Lily, 6 years old. Everything checked out, but something stood out on page 4, an offshore account, one that didn't belong to his company. It belonged to Samantha. I stared at the papers in disbelief. There were money transfers, large ones, from Alex's account to an account in Samantha's name. Tens of thousands of dollars. It hit me like a truck. She wasn't just cheating on me. She was profiting from it. Was it blackmail? A business scheme? Or had she planned this from the start, seducing a rich man to line her pockets while keeping her marriage as a perfect alibi? I needed proof, more than just bank statements. So, I dug deeper. Frank managed to hack into Alex's messages. What I read turned my stomach. "Alex, don't worry, I transferred the money this morning." Samantha, "Good. We can't risk Laura finding out yet." "Alex, she's been asking questions." I told her it's a company investment." Samantha, "Keep her believing that. Once it's all done, we'll both be free. Free. Free from me, and free from Laura." They were planning something, and whatever it wasn't just an affair. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw their faces, laughing, whispering, plotting. By morning, I'd made a decision. I wasn't going to expose them yet. I was going to watch this play out. Let them believe they were in control until I was ready to strike. Days turned into weeks. Samantha acted like the perfect wife again, cooking dinners, leaving love notes, pretending to rebuild what she'd broken. But every smile, every touch felt rehearsed. Then one afternoon, while she was in the shower, I checked her phone. I'd already mirrored her messages to my device, but this time, something new appeared. "Alex, it's almost time. Once the documents are signed, we can disappear. Samantha." "And Jason?" "Alex, he'll be taken care of." Samantha, "Good. I'll handle my part." My blood ran cold. Taken care of. They weren't just lying to me. They were planning to get rid of me. I didn't know how or when, but I knew enough to realize I was in real danger. That night, I sat across from her at dinner, studying her face. She was calm, collected, maybe even happy. "Everything okay at work?" I asked, pretending to sound casual. She nodded. "Yeah, actually things are finally settling down." I smiled faintly. "That's good to hear." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Jason, I know things have been rough lately, but I want you to know, I love you. I really do." I stared at her, silent. I wanted to laugh, or maybe scream. Instead, I said softly, "I know, Sam. I believe you." She smiled, relieved, and went back to eating. But inside, I was done believing. That night, after she fell asleep, I quietly packed a small duffel bag, not to leave her, but to protect myself. I transferred all our shared finances into a secure account under my name. I backed up all my evidence, every photo, message, and document, to an encrypted drive. Then I made a copy of her phone data and hid it in a safety deposit box. Because if they were planning to take care of me, they'd soon find out I was 10 steps ahead. A week later, I got the final piece of the puzzle. Frank called me. "Jason, you might want to sit down for this," he said. I traced that offshore account. "There's another name tied to it." "Whose?" I asked. He hesitated. "Laura Donovan, Alex's wife." I frowned. "That's impossible. She's the one being cheated on." Frank exhaled. "Maybe not, because according to what I found, she's the one funding the transfers." I froze. "Wait, you're telling me Laura has been paying Samantha?" "Exactly." My heart pounded. None of this made sense. Why would Alex's wife pay my wife? Unless they were both part of it. A setup. A long, elaborate trap. And somehow, I was the target. But why? I stared out the window, trying to piece it together. And that's when I realized whatever they were planning wasn't just personal, it was business. They weren't destroying me for love. They were doing it for money. And if I didn't move fast, I'd lose everything. Because the next morning, I got a notification from my bank. My company account, the one I'd spent 10 years building, was suddenly empty. Every dollar gone. I stared at the screen in disbelief, a cold, heavy feeling settling deep in my stomach. My entire company account, 10 years of savings, contracts, and client payments, was wiped clean overnight. Gone. Just like that. I tried calling the bank immediately, but the representative told me the transfer had been authorized under my name, using valid credentials. The account was drained into an offshore entity, the same one linked to Samantha and Laura Donovan. My hands trembled as I ended the call. My vision blurred with rage. My wife hadn't just cheated on me, she'd stolen my life's work. I sat there for what felt like hours, trying to calm the storm inside me. Every breath hurt, every thought screamed betrayal. Finally, I made a decision. No more waiting, no more pretending. It was time to turn the tables. That evening, I acted as if nothing had happened. I greeted Samantha with a tired smile when she came home, just like always. She kissed my cheek lightly. "Tough day?" she asked sweetly. I looked her straight in the eye. "You could say that." She laughed softly, completely unaware that her empire of lies was about to crumble. After dinner, she showered and went to bed early. I waited until I heard her breathing deepen, then quietly got up, grabbed my phone, and stepped into the office. I called Frank. "Frank, it's time," I whispered. He didn't even ask what I meant. "You got it. Everything's in place." Over the past few days, while she thought I was still clueless, Frank and I had been tracing every move she made. Every transfer, every call, every meeting. I knew where she went, who she spoke to, and how she planned to finish what she started. Because Samantha wasn't planning to disappear quietly. She was planning to destroy me, take the money, and start a new life, probably with Alex. But what she didn't know was that I'd already set a trap. The next day, I called Alex. "Hey man," I said casually. "I've been thinking about expanding the Donovan project. Maybe we should meet and finalize details?" He sounded thrilled. "That's great news. Dinner tomorrow night?" "Perfect," I said. "I'll bring the updated documents." When I hung up, I smiled grimly. Those documents would change everything. The next evening, I arrived at the same upscale restaurant where Samantha and Alex had met countless times. He was already there, sipping whiskey, looking smug and comfortable. "Jason," he said, standing to shake my hand. "Glad you could make it." "Of course," I said smoothly, taking a seat. "I wanted to finalize our partnership." I slid a folder across the table. Inside were fake investment papers, cleverly designed to look like legitimate contracts. He flipped through them quickly, nodding. "This looks solid," he said. "I'll get my assistant to sign off tomorrow." I leaned back, my voice calm. "That's great. Just make sure you and Samantha are ready for the next step." He froze mid-turn. "What did you just say?" I smiled slowly. "You heard me." His eyes darted up. "How do you?" I cut him off. "Alex, I know everything. The affair, the money, the offshore account, even your wife's involvement." He went pale. "You don't understand." "Oh, I understand perfectly," I said coldly. "You two thought you could rob me blind, then vanish into the sunset with my money. But here's the thing. You stole from the wrong manual." He swallowed hard, his confident demeanor cracking. "Jason, listen, I'm not done," I said sharply. "You've got two options. Either you return every cent you and Samantha took, or I make sure your wife, your daughter, and your entire company find out exactly who you really are." He sat back, silent. His jaw tightened. Then he muttered, "You have no proof." I smirked. "Actually, I have plenty. Screenshots, bank records, call recordings, even videos. You'd be amazed how much a private investigator can uncover when he's properly motivated." His face drained of color. I leaned forward. "So what's it going to be, Alex?" He hesitated, then exhaled. "All right, you'll get your money back. Just keep my family out of this." "Good," I said quietly. "You've got 48 hours." I stood up and walked out, my heart pounding. The next morning, Samantha acted as if everything was normal, humming as she made breakfast, kissing my cheek before work. But I could tell something was off. She was distracted, nervous. Maybe Alex had already told her what happened. That afternoon, I got a call from Frank. "You're not going to believe this," he said. "Alex didn't go to the office today. He emptied his personal account and took a private flight out of the country." "What?" I hissed. "Where's Samantha?" "Still here," Frank said. "But she's been making calls, desperate ones. I think Alex just double-crossed her." I grinned bitterly. Poetic, isn't it? That evening, Samantha came home in tears. Her makeup was smeared, her voice shaky. "Jason, something's happened," she said, collapsing onto the couch. "Alex, he's gone. He took everything. All the money." I raised an eyebrow. "What money?" She froze, realizing too late what she'd just confessed. I tilted my head. "You mean my money, don't you?" Her eyes widened. "You knew." I nodded slowly. "I knew everything, Samantha. Every lie. Every meeting. Every dollar you stole." She broke down completely. "Jason, please. You have to believe me. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Alex said he loved me. He said we'd start over together. I didn't mean to hurt you." "Didn't mean to?" I snapped. "You lied to my face for months. You drained my company, my savings, my trust. And now you want forgiveness?" She sobbed, clutching my hand. "I was stupid, okay? I got caught up in something I couldn't control. But I swear, I can fix this." I pulled my hand away. "You already did, Sam. You fixed everything." She frowned through her tears. "What do you mean?" I stood, looking down at her. "Because I already got the money back." Her mouth fell open. What?" I smiled coldly. "Alex wired it back this morning. I made him an offer he couldn't refuse." She stared at me in disbelief. "Jason, you don't understand. He's dangerous. He won't let this go." I looked at her calmly. "Neither will I." Her face paled. "What are you going to do?" I leaned down, my voice quiet but sharp. "I'm going to finish what you started." Her lips trembled. "Jason, please, you can't." But before she could finish, there was a loud knock at the door. She flinched. I turned slowly, my heartbeat steady, controlled. Through the frosted glass, I saw two silhouettes, men in dark suits. When I opened the door, one of them flashed a badge. "MR. Jason Miller?" "Yes. We're from the FBI. We need to speak with you about a recent wire fraud investigation involving your company." Samantha gasped behind me. I kept my expression neutral. "Of course, officers. Come in." But inside, my mind was spinning. Because if the FBI was involved now, then someone, either Samantha, Alex, or maybe even Laura, had just made their next move. And this time, it was war. The FBI agents sat across from me in the living room, their expressions serious but polite. Samantha sat beside me, pale as a ghost, clutching the edge of her dress as if it could hold her together. Miller, one of them began, flipping open a folder. "We've been tracking a series of large financial transfers tied to offshore accounts over the past month. Some of these transactions were initiated from your company's network." I nodded calmly. "I see. And you're saying I'm a suspect?" "Not necessarily," the second agent said. "But your name appears on several authorization forms." Samantha's hand trembled. He didn't do anything wrong," she blurted out. "It was." I gently placed a hand over hers, stopping her. "It's okay, Sam. Let them finish." The lead agent studied me for a moment, then continued. "We're also aware that one of your business partners, a Mr. Alex Donovan, fled the country 2 days ago. That complicates things." I exhaled slowly. "Alex handled part of the financial side of our new project. He might have had access to the accounts." The agent nodded. "We believe he might have been part of a money laundering scheme. The problem is, the funds were transferred from your company, Mr. Miller. That makes you the liable party, unless we can prove you were a victim." My jaw tightened. "And how do we do that?" The agent closed his folder. "By giving us full cooperation. Names, contacts, evidence. Whatever you have." Samantha shot me a terrified glance, whispering, "Jason, please don't." But I stood, walked to my office, and returned with a flash drive. I placed it on the coffee table. Everything you need is on that drive: emails, transfers, communications between Alex and Samantha. The agent arched a brow. Your wife? I nodded without hesitation. She was working with him. But she's not the mastermind. He manipulated her. I just want the truth out. Samantha gasped, her voice breaking. Jason, what are you doing? I looked at her coldly. The right thing, for once. The agents gathered their files and the flash drive. Thank you for your cooperation, Mr. Miller. We'll be in touch soon. Once they left, silence filled the room, thick and suffocating. Samantha turned to me, shaking her head in disbelief. You turned me in? She whispered. I met her gaze, unflinching. You turned us in first, Sam. Don't pretend you didn't call them. Her lips parted, stunned. How do you know? Because they showed up 5 minutes after you called Alex this morning, I said flatly. Frank traced the number. You made a deal with the feds, didn't you? You thought if you pinned everything on me, you could walk away free. Tears streamed down her face. Jason, I was scared. I didn't know what else to do. They said I could get immunity if I cooperated. I cut her off sharply. After you stole my money. After you cheated on me. After you tried to destroy me. She sobbed harder. I made a mistake. I didn't mean to hurt you like this. I laughed bitterly. You didn't mean to. Sam, you planned it. You smiled at me every morning while you drained everything I built. You slept next to me while lying to my face. Her voice cracked. I was lost, Jason. Alex promised me freedom. He said I deserved better, that you didn't love me anymore. Freedom? I repeated coldly. You traded love for lies. You wanted power, not freedom. She looked down, broken. What happens now? I stared at her for a long moment. Then I said quietly, now you face the consequences. That night, I couldn't sleep. The weight of everything, the betrayal, the lies, the investigation, pressed down on me like a mountain. But beneath it all, there was a calmness. The calm that comes when you've already lost everything and have nothing left to fear. The next morning, Frank called. Jason, it's over, he said. The FBI froze the offshore account. They caught Alex at a private airstrip in Mexico. He's in custody. I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. And Samantha? They'll probably bring her in for questioning again, he said softly. You should prepare yourself. I hung up and looked around the house. The pictures on the walls, the couch where we used to sit and dream about the future, the wedding photo on the mantel. Everything looked the same. And yet, nothing was. Around noon, there was another knock on the door. This time, it wasn't the FBI, it was Samantha. She looked exhausted, her hair messy, eyes red from crying. She clutched a small bag in her hand. I came to say goodbye, she whispered. I didn't move. Goodbye? They're taking me in. They said if I cooperate fully, I might avoid prison. Her voice cracked. I wanted to tell you I'm sorry. I looked at her, the woman I had loved, the woman who had destroyed me, and now stood before me, broken and terrified. For a moment, I almost felt pity. Almost. You know what the saddest part is, Sam, I said quietly. I would have forgiven you. If you just told me the truth, I would have fought for us. Her tears fell silently. I didn't deserve you. No, I said, stepping back. You didn't. She nodded slowly, turned, and walked away. I watched her go, feeling something inside me finally close, like a door that had been left open too long. Weeks passed. The investigation cleared my name completely. Alex faced multiple charges, and Samantha. She took a plea deal, probation, community service, and the humiliation of a public trial. One evening, as I sat in my office, Frank stopped by with 2 beers. So, what now? He asked. I smiled faintly. Now, I rebuild. But smarter this time. He nodded. And Samantha? I shrugged. She got her freedom. The one she traded everything for. He chuckled. You really made her pay, huh? I looked out the window, watching the sunset paint the sky in deep orange hues. No, I said quietly. Life made her pay. I just stopped protecting her from it. Frank raised his bottle. To new beginnings. I clinked mine against his. To lessons learned. But as I leaned back, my phone buzzed with a new message, an unknown number. You think it's over? You have no idea what's coming next. A. I stared at the screen, my blood running cold. Alex. He wasn't done. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't the end of my story. It was just the beginning of another war. Teachy end.